Here are some useful test tips for Exam P. You should know general test-taking advice, but if not, here's a quick review. In the weeks leading up to the exam, exercise frequently, especially cardio, get enough sleep, avoid stress, avoid excess caffeine and liquids, but don't deprive yourself, take lots of timed practice tests with the same constraints as exam day. The night before and morning of the exam, don't cram, and do something relaxing. Now, let's get into what you'll actually do on the test. First, I say, practice how you'll perform. That means on practice tests, use pencils, not pens. Use an approved calculator, not your phone. And of course, borrow an extra calculator for the day of the exam. Use the same general information sheet that will be provided on the exam. This means practice with a normal table, not a normal calculator. And don't try to memorize population mean. They give it to you. You can even make packets for your calculations just like you will on the test. A quick note on the packets. I recommend using an entire page or two for each problem and labeling them clearly for easy review. When you rework difficult problems, you can use an entirely new packet to refer back to previous work. You get unlimited paper on the exam, and the trees will forgive you. The purpose of practicing for performance is to make you feel comfortable on exam day, and one of the big reasons that's important? Speed. And another way to increase your speed, believe it or not, is by showing unclear, messy work. Now, my work is not normally aesthetically pleasing, but it's easy to follow. When I took my first Exam P practice test, I wrote clear step-by-step solutions for every problem I did, and I only got to do half the problems on the practice test. I ran out of time. I actually had to discipline myself to be messier in how I showed my work. Throughout your mathematical education, you've been rewarded for showing neat, clear work so that other people can understand your thinking. And throughout your career, the rewards for such good communication will be even greater, but the exam is different. On Exam P, no one cares about your communication skills, so long as you choose the right answer. Your work can be messy, all over the page, taking up needless space. Your notation can be imprecise, in picture form, or non-existent. There is a limit, however, because one person needs to be able to understand your work, and that's you. You may want to show enough work that you can look back through it and find mistakes. Or, personally, I prefer showing only enough work to get an answer, and if no answer choice matches mine or something seems wrong, I come back to the problem later and rework it from the beginning. You will have to experiment with different strategies during practice exams. And speaking of coming back to problems when there is time, this is incredibly important, especially on Exam P. Some problems are very simple, and some are very complex. And yet they are each worth the same amount. Imagine for a moment that your time is up, and you would have finished if you'd had an extra 10 minutes. If that means you guessed on a single, complex 10-minute problem, you might be fine. If it means you guessed on 4 simple 2.5-minute questions, then you should review this video before your second attempt. On the other hand, once you've seen a problem, then you've already spent some time on it, and ideally you will solve each problem the first time you see it, and have time left over for review. I recommend having 2 modes. If you check your time and have taken 5 minutes per problem or less, you are set to finish with at least 30 minutes to spare. You are in chill mode, and you can take your time on any difficult problem that comes your way. If you are over 5 minutes per problem after a few problems, you are in rush mode, and you should skip any difficult-looking problem automatically, like the one you saw earlier. The solution is fairly long. You may also start a problem that looks simple, and then realize it requires brain power you simply don't have right now. Or you might find a problem where it's easy to narrow the options. And in rush mode, anytime you come up with an answer that doesn't match the key, you won't spend too much time reviewing your work before marking it and moving on. Saving time is important on the exam, and so is saving brain power. Maybe you're the type that can stay sharp doing difficult math problems for 3 hours on end without even the luxury of talking to yourself. I talk to myself when I do math. But if you're like me, you get tired within half an hour. How to deal with that? Every half hour or so, you can stretch and take 30 seconds to close your eyes and take a deep breath. I also recommend planning a bathroom break in the middle of the test to move your legs and get a drink, to splash some water on your face. Now, you will need to personalize any recommendation in this video, and that applies doubly to rest breaks. Test your attention span during the practice exams, and go into the real thing with a plan that works for you. But more importantly, approach problems in a way that lightens your load. Remember that messy problem from earlier? Did you wonder why I took the trouble to copy down information from the problem onto my paper when I'm so serious about saving time? It's about brain power. For one, it makes it so I don't have to look up at the computer screen all the time. But more importantly, and more honestly, after an hour on an exam, when I see even a simpler problem like this one, I'm thinking 3 heads, 6 flips, 5th toss, 6, 3, 5. Writing the information down gives my brain a break from serious thought, and it gives me a way to process the information from the problem without having to do any real thinking yet. Watch out though, it's easy to make a mistake in transferring information. So save mental energy any way you can. Most of us STEM folk like to do calculations in our heads just for fun, but on the exam, I put everything into my calculator. Everything. I need to save my energy for things that a calculator can't solve. How else can you save mental energy? Diagrams can help, especially when you copy information from the problem directly into the diagram. And for most people, this is more intuitive than this. That applies especially to bivariate problems, especially with uniform distributions. And tree diagrams are especially helpful with Bayes' theorem problems. Diagrams are almost always easier on the brain, and they are often faster too. And speed is important on this exam. Everything you do on your practice tests should be geared towards speed, from writing efficiently to keeping the timer going during your bathroom break. This also applies to how you review your answers on the practice exams. Don't just look at the solutions for what you got wrong. Look at the solutions to the problem you got right too, and see if there was a faster way. One great thing about Goal is that multiple solutions are often given for the same problem. Looking at this example, both solutions will get you to a correct answer, but the second one is a lot faster. Also, take note that this problem deals with the exponential distribution, but that the fastest way to solve it is by looking at a Poisson distribution. Being comfortable translating problems between Poisson, exponential, and gamma, or between binomial, geometric, and negative binomial, can increase speed. It also helps you understand the distributions and their characteristics better. Knowing how you can navigate between distributions in the same family is an excellent way to boost scores. As I've mentioned, you won't watch this video and then magically do all these things on exam day. This all needs to be part of how you practice, and you need to personalize any recommendations that I've made. Remember that following these recommendations unthinkingly is not going to get you a passing score. The individual questions on the exam require critical thought, and finding an exam strategy that works for you requires critical thought too. After all, on actuarial exams, as in life, it's not what you know, it's how you think.